There's a lot of paranormal activity going on between Quartzite and Los Angeles.
Oh yeah, we saw a lot of crazy stuff driving on the 10 every weekend.
And for those who don't know, we have a crystal shop. We used to live in LA, and we used to have to make trips once a week to get supplies from crystal warehouses in Arizona.
Yeah, we used to drive out there every Saturday, and on the drive home, usually on the drive home, we would see
Crazy
some,
things.
yeah, interesting things, some strange things, and we've decided to tell those stories.
Yeah. So I think one of the most memorable things to start off with would be our experiencing the reptilian.
Right, but before we get into it, actually, we should probably preface this whole thing by setting an example. If you've ever seen the movie The Hills Have Eyes, no exaggeration, that's what the people in Quartzite, Arizona are like.
Yeah.
They act like that, they talk like that, and it's just a very weird
Precarious
town.
place.
Yeah, so just keep that in mind as we go through this.
So let me give you a setting. It was around 11 a.m. We had just crossed the California-Arizona border, and there were about like 3 different rest stops right after you pass the border. So we went to the Flying J's rest stop. We're gassing up, grabbing some food, heading on our way out, and we're going on an off ramp. And I notice there's this homeless man pushing a cart, and he has a dog. He's about midlife, I would say, European, blue eyes, from what I saw. Like, they were like piercing blue, noticeable. And I feel bad for this guy. We're in the middle of the desert. There is nothing but those 3 stops for the next 20 to 30 miles.
Yeah.
It's just, there's no way this man's living. So,
Yeah.
We're like, let's give him some money. Hop out of the car, approach him. He looks completely normal, at this point. I hand him, 20, and I say, God bless you. May everything work out. May you get the food and, the water that you need to survive. And at this point, he's looking down, right before I say, God bless you. So as soon as I say, God bless you, he looks up at me. And as he looks up at me, his eyes are no longer blue. His irises went to a yellowish green, and the pupils became slitted.
Yeah.
Like snake eyes, or like a reptilian's eyes, or reptile's eyes. And the look in his face was not that of like a predator or anything aggressive. He was fearful. Like, holy crap, you saw me. And it seems like that doesn't happen often to him because of the shock in his face.
Yeah.
No, I'm freaking out in my mind. I'm not, visibly freaking out, but I'm watching this and noticing his eyes are not changing back to the blue. They're remaining the same. And he's just staring at me in the eyes. Both of our eyes are getting bigger and bigger as they go. And something inside of me just says, let it be. Don't make a scene, and just let him be. It's bad enough that he's out here in this desert.
Yeah, no, seriously.
So I get in the car, and obviously I tell Emily, what the hell, dude? You don't believe what I just saw right now. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't see it, but I remember you were like, oh my God, I can't believe that I just witnessed it.
Well,
I had this experience.
I've had one other experience that I'll be talking about later on that are already validated that those beings exist. But outside of that situation, I've never come across anything.
Anybody else.
Anything
Yeah.
that ever alluded to anything like that. It was always, different things, but never reptilian or with the snake eyes, particularly like I had seen before in the past. This was just like, I don't know, it looked like a dude that was hiding. And that he was using like a disguise of being homeless maybe as his way of getting around, because people don't talk to homeless people here on Earth. We're, I say it like that, like here on Earth. But we are very rude individuals, and we will go on our day. We don't give a shit about other people. And I think that could have been the situation. He did not expect me to approach him in the middle of
and see that or have that experience.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's just one.
Man. Yeah, starting off strong.
Yeah.
The next one that was kind of near that same area on the border, like the Colorado River, Ehrenberg, like Quartzite area, was that one of our suppliers actually had told us this story that her son and her were fishing, right?
Yeah. So basically, Well, you could tell it. You could tell it. So what ended up happening? Oh, you want me to say it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So what ended up happening? We have a supplier that's out there, and we were grabbing moldavite from this particular person. She had like moldavite, nice Tektites.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we got comfortable with her because our other supplier was informing us that he washes his selenite in the Colorado River.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that. Just simply, it's just probably not good for the drinking supply. But we were letting her know, like, this is what he does. And she kind of like stopped us and she was like, do not go out to the Colorado River.
Yeah.
By Ehrenberg and Blythe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, why? And she's like, you have no idea. There are a lot of satanic cults that are out there that are basically preying on people that are from out of town and visiting. Particularly, she said, she gave an instance. There's a bar that's out there in Quartzite that a lot of snowbirds, they come in during winter, they, have fun in the desert, go to the bar at night. And particularly, she says, young men from college are coming over to this bar and they get drunk. These rich couples who live in Ehrenberg and Blythe and they own the nice houses across the Colorado River basically bring these kids back home. And a lot of the times these people go missing, never to be seen again. And that was what she was alluding to, is that weird things are happening. People are going missing. Her son was going fishing on Colorado River. And during his fishing trip, walking through the lake bed, he saw ritualistic items of satanic worship, as well as sigils drawn into the ground, a little bit of scorch marks, and then there was some bones. Yeah. He didn't know if they were animal bones or human bones, but he had seen there had been some kind of sacrifice there and some kind of ritual. Well, the same dude who had told us about the selenite, we had talked to him about that, like I think maybe a month later, and he had confirmed that he had seen stuff out there very similar. Yeah. So multiple people confirmed this story and their experience, and just seeing that, like, scorch marks and symbols and things down there, and obviously it's out of the ordinary for the people of that town to see these things and do those things. So, and I know that she was terrified. And the way that she was describing it, she was worried about her own safety and anybody that was coming in town thinking that this is a safe area. And she was clearly stating, this is not. And it's actually kind of weird because the billboards driving from Quartzite into California are menacing. It's like, don't be another dead body in the desert. Don't be next, like lost in the desert. Basically, like it was like help signs, like missing. But it felt like people's. A threat. It was very threatening. Like somebody was like behind this, making people go missing on purpose and going into the direction where the people are going missing. Right. Very interesting to me. Yeah, very. And then you did say, I know you mentioned before the podcast, one of our suppliers that we used to get fulgurite from actually got caught up in a little, what was it again? Yeah, he was like camping out again in that same area in Quartzite. And it's like a very big like desert community where people go and camp in their RVs and tents and things like that, ATVs, go off-roading, things like that. And he was out there camping and sourcing minerals. And he got woken up at like 3 a.m. by some military personnel basically asking him if he was like spying on what they were doing in the desert. So this is like a military testing zone. I don't know really what they're testing, like missiles or something. And I think he went like 30 to 40 miles. He went pretty deep into the desert. Yeah. Quartzite to get to the location that he was at. But he said he literally just drove straight. Yeah. He wasn't like trying to be in their like space at all. He was just literally trying to go to the middle of the desert and camp. And he got woken up at like 3 a.m. and they made him literally like break his camp down and move outside of this like perimeter that they had set up because they thought that he was like spying, collecting information on whatever they were doing. So that's crazy. And this is all on the Arizona side. Now when we get to the California side, on the 10, going all the way, we get to this part, Chiriaco. And I know that you had experienced something pretty trippy over there as well.
Yeah, there was one time when we were driving home, and this was maybe like between like 6 and 7 p.m. Like the sun was like going down, but you could still see everything. It wasn't like dark out. And I don't know if Anthony was like sleeping or like just listening to music, but either way, we were driving and
I think I was asleep.
I don't remember like seeing anything like come down from the sky or like come from anywhere. It literally just like a green light appeared in front of our car, like 2 car lengths ahead of us or something, and then it was like going at the same, like I wasn't catching up to it, and it was just like parallel with us. And I was like looking at it like maybe that's like the sunset like reflecting off of like something. Like I was like really trying to like figure out like if it was like my eyes playing a trick on
Were there
me
any
or
cars in
something.
front of us?
But there was nobody. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we were the only people on the road, like, or at least where I could see. There wasn't anything. And right when I went to like tap Anthony to like see like if he was seeing this, it literally disappeared. Because I was sitting there for like a couple minutes being like, am I seeing this? Like, is this, like, what is this, like, thing? This green light, like, traveling at the same speed that appeared, basically. And right when I brought attention to it, it just straight up vanished.
Yep.
And what was weird, I mean, obviously that's a whole thing, but to add to that, I should say.
How big was the light?
I mean, it wasn't like crazy big or anything, but
Was it like a basketball, size of a basketball, or maybe even smaller than that?
No, yeah, probably like a baseball, if that even. Maybe, I don't know. It was hard to see because it was like ahead of us, so it's like.
What is the depth perception?
Yeah, the perception was probably off. But what made it weird about being in that particular area was that we had seen on other trips and like multiple trips, like 2 black SUVs on this like pull off again.
And there's nothing in this desert.
Yeah, in the middle of the desert. Like when you leave Indio, like it says like this is the last gas until you get to the border. So like you got it's like 100 miles or something, that there's nothing, no businesses, no homes. It's just straight desert.
There's a couple of reservations, but they're far off from the actual town.
Yeah.
They're nowhere near that one location. And if you want to know what we're talking about, look up Chiriaco Summit or Peak. That is specifically what we're talking about. Because I remember on that same runway right there, I think it was around the same time. It was maybe like 6 or 7. And if, that's around the time that we were, leaving Arizona to go back to California to go back home. And I noticed there was a passenger plane flying above us. And it was kind of like keeping pace with our car, which I thought was pretty cool. Because I was like, usually you have to fly really fast to get, be able to fly. And I was tripping out. It's like, basically hovering at like 65 to 75 miles per hour. It's like, this is very interesting. But, I was just tripping out watching it. And I noticed as I was watching it, it vanished, disappeared into nothingness. Yeah. And I was tripping out. I remember Emily I was like, did you see that plane? And she was like, what plane? And like, she kind of like didn't, look further, but I was freaking out. I was looking in the rear view mirrors, sticking my head out the window, looking around. Yeah. And you can see the whole sky. It vanished. It was not there anymore. I have no idea. Yeah. And a very interesting thing about this is we used to have a client who worked at a military base that was in a desert that had an undisclosed, location. Yeah. And I remember we told her about that, and she was like, I can't say anything. I'm sorry. And we kind of lost her as a customer.
Yeah, we used to wonder if there was like something like underground, because like where all this stuff was happening with those SUVs, like there wasn't anything there. So if they were off the highway, like it's not like there was even a road where they could like drive and go to somewhere. So that's what
it's raining right now.
Like, is there like something underground that they're like marking the like beginning of? Like, I don't know. It was just very weird because like there was nothing visible that people would be stopping at or like that would be attracting something to this area.
Yeah. And if you're wondering what that sound is, we're in the middle of a monsoon, so
it's raining.
It's raining like crazy. I thought that was air conditioning possibly like turning on, but no. It's going ham. It's going ham.
Yeah.
So yeah, that area is chock full of activity. And if you go a little bit further south, not south, but west from that location, you go into Cathedral City. We were seeing a lot of interesting things right
City
there.
Always, like, it was like, again, multiple times seeing the same things and having similar experience in that location.
Yeah, and I remember, so we would see these orbs, these blue orbs and sometimes white orbs over the city of Cathedral City, essentially.
Yeah.
And it would go from the center of the city, you know, in a valley looking over everything, and then it would go straight to the mountain. And then from the mountain, it would go from peak to peak, the blue one specifically.
Yeah.
And I remember tripping out because I was like, what am I seeing?
Was it like large or like normal?
No, it was a large blue orb, like huge. And I was thinking, like, this has to be some kind of spaceship. Or at first I was thinking this is a crazy drone.
Yeah.
Because I remember we were able to pull up close to it and see underneath it. And, you know, as soon as I saw underneath it, it was just a blue light.
Yeah.
Bright blue light, like royal blue.
But same thing too. There's a runway right there, so like it's a no-fly zone. There wouldn't have been drones or anything like that.
Well, that's what I was thinking. It might have been like a plane or something.
Yeah.
You know, something explainable. Well, while you're looking at this thing, there was things that were taken, you know, planes that were taken off, flying in. You had, you know, different experiences right there that were very different from this singular thing. I was just like, I don't know, basically flying from Cathedral City over to Morongo Valley, over the casino over there, going back into the mountain range, right? That's right there, Mount Wilson. Is it Mount Wilson? No, it's, is it Baldy?
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Because you're over more like near like
it's literally
desert.
Cathedral.
So yeah, I'm not sure.
It's Cathedral.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know why.
They have their own mountains.
Idlewild's right there. So it's near Idlewild is what I'm talking about. And we, you know, it would fly around. One day, you know, I was filming it actually, and I had noticed that it landed on part of the mountain, and out of the blue came little white orbs that were basically like, it felt like it was like a mothership.
Yeah.
And it was releasing like these small pods to go like look around on the mountain range, because that's all they were going to the mountain and looking around. And then one by one, they would come back to the blue orb. But while I was watching this, and this feels crazy, and I thought it was crazy when it happened, but I heard a voice in my head. And this is something that I thought was just, I never thought channeling either aliens, mainly aliens, is like a real thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I've never had an experience like that before. So I'm filming, and I hear this almost like Siri is what it sounded like. And this woman's voice, and she said, "We are the Octurians." Now this was before the Octurians were popular or anybody had known about them. This was like in 2000. Was it 2021? Was it 2020?
No, in 21.
21.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really popular, and I had never heard this name before. I only know about Arcturus, like the star. You know what I'm saying? So she tells us that she's Arcturians, or she tells me in my mind that she's Arcturian race, and they're meant to come here to usher in a new thing for humanity, to help us with it. She wasn't specific in any way. She just said that they were here to help ease things in.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, like, whatever that is, and you know, and she was like, well, it's going to happen. And
was that the only time that you like channeled them? Or
yes, that was the only time I heard a voice physically.
Yeah.
That was not my voice, my imagination. It was like, as we're talking right now.
Right.
Straight up.
Yeah.
But in my head.
Yeah.
Weird. So, obviously.
Was that the first time too? Like the first time that we saw them that you channeled them?
Yes.
Okay, because I was gonna say I know we saw them.
And I know
like
it made it sound like, you know, I made it sound like, you know, we'd seen them a couple times. Then I had that note. It was the very first time that we had seen the blue with that freaking the light ships come out of it.
Yeah.
The light ships. That's when that happened, and that was the first time. And then after that, we were kind of like, what's going on here? You know. So we started filming, and I had noticed that there was in one instance, there was a white orb rather than a blue orb that was in the center of Morongo Valley. And it literally, rather than being on the side of Cathedral, on this side of the 10, it went to the right-hand side. If you're coming from Arizona to California, on the right-hand side. On that mountain range, it was like protecting that mountain range. Like,
yeah.
It felt masculine, and it felt like an angelic presence, or almost like a deity. And the only thing I could think of was the Serrano people that are in that area. Maybe it's an ancestor. Maybe it's a protector, some kind of deity, you know, for the people.
Possibly.
And that's what I was saying. That didn't feel like alien. It felt very different. And I did have an experience, actually, in Arizona. Right before you get to Goodyear on the 10, and Goodyear's right before Phoenix. So, like, I would say 20 miles before you get to Goodyear. That area right there, there's a bunch of hills and mountains right there.
Yeah.
I had seen a being that's very similar to that right there. And it, you know, immediately in my head, I knew it was a Kachina.
Oh, right.
And that's what I said. This is a Kachina. You know, for me, I have ancestry that ties back to Arizona and ancestry that ties back to California, to the tribes. So, you know, whether it be my Dene or my Serrano ties, I thought it was very interesting that I saw that kind of being in those two areas. And I was like, this feels very different. It doesn't feel like technology. It feels like intelligence.
But it didn't feel like alien. It felt like comforting, almost. Or
I wouldn't say comforting.
Just that you knew what it was?
No. It felt like an angel that was sent to protect a certain area from whatever it is.
Right.
Like, when I see a police officer, I don't think comforting, but I know that dude's job is to protect. You know what I'm saying? And that's exactly how I felt.
Yeah.
Like, it was policing the area, but not like totalitarian like kind of ways. It was I don't know, just doing his job. I don't know. Explain.
Yeah.
And that's just in those two areas.
Yeah. That one I would say that probably happened like the most. We saw those things. It's like, because like I said, we drove out there every single weekend for like 3 months, and we saw them. And I know
all the truckers, they're seeing the same shit. They're going up and down that highway, seeing that, and there's no way. That's how I was like, you know, all these regular pedestrians that you're driving through, they're not really noticing these things. They're just going on the road. But we were, you know, for 4 months straight, every weekend to see this. And well, not to see it, we were witnessing it on our drive. Nobody would drive.
Yeah, we weren't seeking this stuff out. It was literally just happening like around us while we were driving. And yeah, we were so familiar with that drive. It's easier to find things that stick out as like not being normal. Yeah. And then I remember another time actually when we got to what is it? Monrovia area. Yeah.
So hopped off the 10 to go get some gas. You know, before we got to LA in Monrovia at the base of Mount Wilson. We basically got to this gas station, hopped out of the car, and I noticed before we had got out of the car, there was this homeless man that was carrying like an ungodly amount of like trash bags and items, and I was just thinking like, there's no way this dude is getting that across the street, because he was trying to cross the street. And I was like, man, all these cars are going to have to wait like quite a while. Yeah. You know, if he drops one of those bags, it's just going to be a minute. So I'm just thinking about that struggle of him having to do that and the stress, you know, of being an inconvenience. Because to me, that's what I was thinking. When I'm inconveniencing, it fucking stresses me out. Yeah, no, literally. So I can, you know, you already know other people feel this stuff as well. So I'm sitting here like feeling that for that dude. I get out of the car to go put my, you know, the pump into the freaking tank. I look up and that man is right in front of us, maybe like 2 or 3 feet in front of us. And we're talking about a matter of like 10 seconds has passed by. There's no way you could walk from the corner on the opposite side of the street to where we're at in 10 seconds with all of the bags. By the way, he was wearing a trash bag with like a black cloak that had like a lot of holes in it. And he was just like tattered and dirty in a way that it's very unexplainable. He looked very inhuman, sadly. And you know, I remember thinking, what puts somebody in this position, and what would this person do to survive? And I was putting myself like, what would I do to survive? And I was like, I would rob the fuck out of me.
Yeah, because we were the only people at this gas station. It's not like he could go and ask multiple people. He was coming to chat with you.
He was beeline into us. So I'm thinking like, you know, my defense went on, and I was thinking like, I'm gonna have to like, you know, yank this dude right now in front of everybody. And I was like, why are you thinking like that? Like, what the hell is that? Like, my mind, I like checked myself, and I remember something was like, repent and talk to the man and offer him money. Actually, be good, be a human to this human. And as soon as I, you know, reach out to grab my wallet and look up to acknowledge the man, he vanished again. Yeah. Nowhere to be seen. And I'm talking about this whole transaction happened within a millisecond. I look up, see him, he's there. I like reach down, have that whole thought. He's gone. Gone.
Not even like down the street. Like,
nowhere to be vanished. Seen. All of the stuff that he had, the trash bags, you would have heard him leave. You would have, like, it was one of those things where I have to question if that was even a human, because I remember I asked Emily, did you see this person?
Yeah, we would have, like, he had so many bags with, like, cans or something.
Yeah.
Like, you would have heard him even if he tried to, like, run, you would have heard the clinking. And that's what I remember you were, like, tripping out on the most, is you were like,
There's no way
he went anywhere, because the noise of him carrying all that stuff, we would have heard it. And we didn't hear anything.
Nothing. So that was, I have to wonder if that was a spirit.
Yeah.
You know, and I was just seeing it. And that's why it drew its attention, because I was thinking about it. But I remember seeing that and just thinking like, man, that is very, very interesting. You know, and I always keep it in my head, because you never know if whom you're meeting and encountering in this world is an angel or if it's a human. And that's you know, scripture that's always been on my mind. You have no idea who you are helping or who you are not helping.
Yeah. So
who's to say in that instance? What if that was a test?
I mean, you try to do the right thing.
At first I didn't. At first in my mind I was ready to fucking stab the dude, because he was looking like, I mean, the look on his face, he was looking crazy at us. Like, I was like, you know what, bro, it's gonna go down right here. I've lived my whole life. You know, I've had people fight me in the past, and if this is where it's gonna be, it's gonna be. You know, and I was like, no, you can't. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. So I was like, this is wrong thinking. You can't be so aggressive when seeing your brothers and sisters out. You know what I'm saying? You have to give people leeway and the benefit of the doubt. And I checked myself, and as soon as I checked myself, he disappeared. So there's weird stuff, I can tell you, and there's more stories, but it's just like, we can go on for hours talking about the crazy things that we've seen going from Los Angeles to Quartzite. Yeah. And I mean, from even down to Tucson, you know.
Weird stuff goes on in the desert because that's how the 10 is. It's just, there's only a certain amount of like spots where there is towns and things like that. Yeah. The majority of it is just vacant desert, and there's just weird stuff that we've seen. And these were the first stories that came to mind that we decided to share. But yeah, we saw a lot. Yeah. So I think we have, for the next, we're going to probably talk about some of the things that I've experienced in San Diego. I used to live in a haunted house, and it was a terrible experience. And I think I want to talk about that. I think it's about time, because I haven't spoke about it. You know, my brother, my mom, and myself, and my grandma, we went through hell there, saw some crazy things. All of our pets died. It was just a very terrible experience. Yeah. And I know a lot of people are probably going through the same thing, because the house is still being rented out today. Oh, yeah. It's crazy work, dude. It's just like, yeah, but. Till next time. Thanks for listening. Mahalo nui.